So, like, why does it feel like greed overpowers humanity and compassion?
Oh boy. Well, it's one of the tools that we come here to use to overwhelm our emotion and our desire body with the will of our soul. These deadly sins don't exist in our soul. These are tools. And this is why the so-called demonic and the demons have such a bad rep. Are they evil? Yeah, in the sense that their only focus is the material world. An example is, I think it's the Freemasons, the Masons, one of their symbols is the Baphomet statue, the goat, the god sitting on the throne. And that is also a symbol of so called Satanism. But what it represents is the age of Capricorn, which is the next 2,500 year cycle. It also represents Saturn, which is the teacher of the material world. Now, when we encounter these deadly sins, for lack of better, and I say that with humor, deadly sins, for lack of better understanding or verbiage, the seven deadly sins is like a vernacularian dialect for the Catholic Church. But I think we can all recognize the icky feelings they bring up. They all engage the physical world and how we interact with it, to it, for it. And it's also emotions, negative emotions. But these are just tools. They're just tools. Look what's happening globally. Many, many, many people are really scared. The opposite of love is not hate, it's terror, it's fear. And this is now floating on the surface of our consciousness saying, what are you going to do about it? And I'll give you an example of that in my own life, not because mine is so different, but the way I access things may be a little different, but I'm just like you. I have these same things. So I work a lot with, and just stick with me here. It's really weird. Zoli, if you had your Thorazine today, gargoyles. Gargoyles exist in the etheric. They are very real. There are different kinds. So last week, I'm walking by, there's a little deck off of our bedroom suite. Um, I walked by and I etherically see about a 5 foot gargoyle with a 5 foot wingspan perched on the rail. I'm like, what the hell? I love these guys. What are you doing? And it took a little while for me to go, did I make that up? Didn't I make it up? But the way that I tell if I am projecting or if it is a real message is what comes next. I cannot predict what comes next. So, what did he do? He started picking his nose. I thought, all right, you guys.
Oh, well, that's not something you would have imagined.
No, I wouldn't have. But I'll give you an example really quickly. When I was at the dump a couple months ago, I said, I wonder who's here. And I look over there and I saw myself projected that there is this really icky troll over there. And so it becomes something that I want to add to or take away from. I thought, I projected that. So that's the difference. But this gargoyle, I let it go for a day or so. And I thought, why am I going through terror in my dreams? I walk around the house like I'm in a war zone. What the hell? So I chose, as I advise you guys to do, find something to give you connection to higher power. I prayed over it. It wasn't an evil, you're going, something bad's going to happen. It's like, if you don't do something about your situation here, Zoli, you will not be able to move forward. So, what's the situation? I did an I Ching drawing. I love I Ching. Spent centuries in China and lives, whatever. The I Ching drawing said, I said, why did this particular gargoyle sent by my friend on the other side, GAP, GAAP, why did he send this? The I Ching addressed letting go of what you no longer need in the material world. So, how am I engaging my attachment to the material world that I think I need to be safe, secure, whatever? When we do this, this is what's called the sinful nature, that we look at something other than God and hope and faith. So I have been going through a week of just fear. So last night, and this is hysterically funny, but I know everybody goes through this stuff and you wonder what the hell's going on. Then we create more fear because we have fear. So I've had to be very careful listening to my guidance saying, stay with it, let it happen, feel it. So I said, okay, I'm going to get on my YouTube feed and look at things that are uncomfortable because I'm already uncomfortable, which is all this stuff. There's some cool female morticians. They're hysterical. We all have these skeletons. My skeleton is hanging up in one of the bathrooms. His name is Ossie, Ossie. He has a mortuary t-shirt on. It's just hysterically funny for me. So I spent a week feeling kind of nauseous looking at this stuff. Now, when I was younger, I wanted to be a mortician. I forgot all of that. So I ended up giving myself permission to look at things that are just weird, but that I love. I love dealing with death. I just love this. So the dream that I had last night with all of this third chakra discomfort, fear, inner child going, wah, and me going, it's okay, stay with it. It wasn't a dream. Now, this happens to everybody. This is why I'm telling you, but my experience was this. I'm trying to fall asleep and I see the long table that we have. It seats 10 people. It's in the dining area. Now, I love to decorate that table and leave it. It's a very Southern thing. You leave it set all the time. It's beautiful. A couple months ago, my husband said, could you just leave half of that set? Because he's a furrier also, along with other things he does. I'm making this coat for drastically low temperatures that have a lot of furs, and I need to be able to lay that out. So I immediately said, oh, sure. So I cleared off half of the table, and I now have 3 places set very nicely on the other. So what happened last night? I go into territory wars of fear. Fear. Oh my God. Am I ever going to look at all these beautiful dishes and settings I have? Am I ever going to be able to do that again? Why is he doing this to me? Why do I have to do it? He says, I don't. He's not a bully. So I did that for about 10 minutes. I'm going, what the hell is this? I also did that with the skis and the boots that are on the side of the wall next to the door. Why does he just leave his stuff everywhere? And he doesn't. But it's territory wars because I was raised with a mother who was wonderful, but had a psychiatric diagnosis of what? OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. So, as a child, the house I lived in, we called it the Engel Museum. It was spotless. You didn't put anything out anywhere, whatever. And Tom in my life is different, but I like order. So, what am I looking at? The fear, the ridiculous fear that I can't do what I want. So, which deadly sin is that? Is that anger or greed? And these things can happen kind of all at once. They'll trade off. Here, you do it for a while. She's not getting it. See if she gets it this way. But it took me 20 minutes to finally do my breathing exercises, going, okay, pass through, pass through. And what finally happened was I said, this is a childhood implant emotional memory that I'm going to work with my body code practitioner on because it's an implant. We all have this. And when we don't know how to focus on it, how to so called move on into the future, it will put us into fear. And one fear attracts more fears, these 7 deadly sins. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fascinating to me the way you describe it in a way that's not to be scared of the 7 deadly sins, but shows them as tools that help shed an awareness on who we are and why we're feeling the way we are. And your example of you with your husband and how you're used to living and how you got upset is something we can all notice in all our relationships, because I think that's what I'll go on a roll and say 95% of all arguments or problems are because of people looking at something else other than God with hope and faith.
That's very true. I think that's very well put. And we are learning creatures. We're all insane and we're all 8 years old. It's just ridiculous. The problems now is with the changes going on in the world. This year is going to be emotionally violent. You've got to find a way of controlling yourself. Because
And the
people
way
are
you
going to,
describe 7 deadly sins, I see as helping people learn how to control themselves. So instead of the Catholic way I was taught of, if you're doing these sins, you're a bad person and now you're going to hell, it's instead, okay, why am I feeling greedy? What's causing that greed? And, how is it making me want to act? That's it's a much more gentle way of dealing with oneself.
yeah, and you have to get in there and dig. And for me, it gets down to, do you have courage? Can you endure with strength very difficult events? You have to learn to have courage. If not for you, then how about for your kids and loved ones? Because we're being watched. Give up self pity. Now, self pity to me is the lowest form of nurturing. So what? But it has a glass ceiling. Consider giving up hiding from fear. Learn strength, endurance, how to persevere. You have to learn to live with fear. Why? Because this world is a deep, dark, evil place that we all came to be that light, that courage, that truth for other people. And then for us, find a way and don't quit until you're strong enough to face evil for the sake of others who need that from you. What external things tempt you to stray from your soul purpose? And it's all about these triggers are externals and they're visual and there's chatter associated with it. So the optics and the chatter go on in our mind, in our head. So we can do this collectively and we can do it individually, and you need to. You'll see it in other people also.